Welcome to the Shift Talkers podcast.
All right. Hey, all you shift talkers.
Somebody touching you?
Thank you for tuning in. I think he does like that.
I'll hold it like that.
You don't have to. You
Okay,
can, go ahead. Have at it.
Are you having that feeling like you have to pee?
Yep. That's it. Notice you can't see my hand.
I miss you guys. Oh.
We're so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thanks for organizing this.
You know, we have been having so much fun talking shift, and it's just been a blast. And I'm going to say, and I told Cricket all day that I wanted her to be here so bad. I'm like, I think you're feeling sick.
I know.
You need to get out of work. But, you know, she's a good employee and da-da-da. But Cricket's working, so she's not here. But we have some really, really special guests tonight on the podcast. So thanks for tuning in. First, I would like to say I am Colleen Sweets, and I'm here with my ride or die, Miss Desi Janes.
Hi.
If you listen to the podcast, you already know Desi. But I am here with a couple of our friends that we worked with back in the day. And that's actually going to be our topic for tonight, is back in the day and how things have changed in the last 10 years, I guess, or whatever. But first, I would like to introduce Miss Anna Keene. She used to live in New Mexico here, moved to Michigan, you said like 8 years ago, huh? Which is crazy. But she's visiting, and so who better to have on our podcast as a guest? So thank you so much for being here. So I want to ask you, how did you start in the restaurant business? What was your first restaurant job, and how did you get into it? What happened?
Well, my parents made me get a job when I was 14, and I remember I was a busser in a restaurant called the Pickle Barrel.
Oh my God, I love that name.
My dad actually, I remember you had to be 15 to work there. So he took my birth certificate and did the whiteout and Xerox.
Whoa.
You know, so I could get the job. And thus there started my, career in the restaurant industry.
Wow.
And it went until probably about 5 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
On and off. And I've always been kind of grateful to have that to fall back on,
Yeah. Yeah. It is a really good default job because you'll always get hired after experience and stuff. So 14 and your dad, that's a great story. Anna. Your dad forged your birth certificate. That's great. Like nowadays, and that's a great like back in the day story because parents would never even dream of doing that now. More like, you're 20, you should finally get a job. You know what I mean?
It's about time. Yeah.
Yes. You're an artist. What do you do when you're not working in the restaurant? What is your career?
So I've been, I've always went back and forth. Well, not always, but for the past 12 years, gone back and forth between doing metalwork. I do some blacksmithing. And then that gets hard. To make it as an artist. And so, I'll get a gig working in a restaurant, or I would in the past. And then now for the past 4 years, I went to school for massage therapy. So
nice.
I've been doing that as kind of a replacement for the, restaurant work.
So right.
Right.
I know, right? I'm like, how long
first.
are you in town for?
I've got a table in the back of the car. Yep.
Stop it. I got
man.
cash in my wallet.
I'm feeling like I need to pee again.
And that is our intro to Mr. Lorenzo. We also worked with Lorenzo back in the day. He was our bartender. Lorenzo, you tell us your story. How did you get into the biz? Like, what was your first restaurant job? Into bartending especially, because that was your, since I've known you, that's been your forte. But tell us how you got into it.
Well, It started on accident. I wanted to hang out with my cousin. His father owned a restaurant. So I started there when I was 10. We didn't get paid.
Of course.
We did dishes and any other job he could come up with for us. I worked there till I was legal. When he really hired me at 13, you could get a job for a family member at 13 and a worker's permit. I worked there from 10 years old until 21.
Wow.
And when I turned 21, that's when I started working at the fridge.
Wow. Okay.
And that one I kind of fell into on accident also. I came into that place. I was transitioning back in Albuquerque. I was going to school, and I started serving there. And I served for about 6 months. And one of the managers pulled me and said, I think you would be better as a bartender. And the rest is history with that.
Yes, it is.
That turned into an 8-year whirlwind of a million stories. Half of them I can't tell. And from there, I still continued. When I left, I went to work for National Guard, and I ran their hospitality, which included a restaurant, which I took care of from everything, the ground up, from ordering, managing, had a staff, and kept that running for about 4 years. Then I moved on to bigger and better things. But as far as restaurants go, I have done every job there is to do in a restaurant. And I can't fall back on it anymore, but I do miss it.
Why can't you fall back on it anymore?
10 years ago, I got sick and lost some of my ability, my movement. So I don't have I just can't stay on my feet for 8 hours a day anymore,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
And restaurants require you up.
Yes.
So
it's
even,
very physical. Very,
even
very
in-
physical.
Even in the managerial portion, you're
Yeah.
still up all
You-
day,
you
every
are.
day. So
Yeah.
I can't just sit in the back and watch
right.
the show.
Right. Yeah. You've done every single part of the restaurant, every single department, every single job in the restaurant business. Which one is your favorite and which one is your least favorite? Which one do you dislike the most?
The most favorite is always serving. That's where the fun is. You get to interact. You get to be somebody else. You have
Yeah.
fun with the people you're with. You can transform yourself into whatever they want, whatever you want.
Even more than bartending? You think?
They're hand in hand.
Yeah,
To
serving,
me-
bartending.
Well,
are
I've never
kind of-
bartended, but
To
You
me,
know, so, but I
it's just an
assumed.
extension.
Okay.
Right.
If you're a good
You're right.
server,
No, it makes sense. It
you're going to
does.
be a good bartender.
True.
There's not much difference to it.
Right.
It's just a matter
Yeah.
of adapting to your clientele. It's a
Right.
different clientele,
For sure.
but it's the same general
get it.
general
Yeah.
job, and it's fun either way. Bartending, you have a little more freedom. People are a little more loose.
A
Yeah.
little more freedom, and you get more time, I think, with your customers.
True, right. There's not much. Yeah, there's just not
Depend.
much
Yeah,
food
I mean,
involved.
depending on what kind of bar you work in.
Yeah,
but
of course,
yeah.
of course, but
Yeah, you can build your rapport with them, and
for
you
sure.
get to know all of your customers on a first name basis. And with my experience, for 8 years, I never paid for a round of golf. I didn't pay for vacations. I didn't pay for meals outside of the restaurant. I was always with all the clients, and that was the best part of it.
Yeah, I can say so. Lorenzo and I used to bartend together at the fridge. And I remember, when maybe it was like, working Friday nights. And if you were out of town and I was filling in
Oh, goodness.
for you, I mean, your customers would be so pissed off. Like, wait,
Yes.
where's Lorenzo?
Really?
Who are you? Why are you here? Like, we want our
You're-
person. And like,
you're
I'm
not
sorry.
Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you
Well,
dislike the most about
only
the
thing
restaurant?
that I disliked about anything, because I've done all the jobs, I've cleaned all the messes. When you're bartending, you deal with throw up and bathroom
Yeah.
issues constantly. When you're in the kitchen, you deal
Ew.
with drain issues, food issues,
Right.
spoilage,
Right.
kitchen problems. You're into the refrigerators, things of that nature. The only thing that I disliked about the job ever was the customers.
So what you love about it, you hate about it too.
Right.
Yes, I totally get it.
You get
Yep.
the best of the world and the worst of the world, and
Yeah.
you just have to adapt to each one individually. Well, now they have a name.
Karens and
Karen.
Kyles.
Yes. We gave them their own names individually
Yes.
before it was a thing. It wasn't Karen, but everybody had a name, and whether you know it or not, if you're that customer, you have a name.
Yes. Yeah. It's really awesome to talk about all this stuff and to talk about even the customers too, because Laurel, I will mention Laurel. Hi, Laurel. He likes our podcast. He listens to the podcast, and I'm like, and we talk about him because he's such a regular, but he's such a cool dude. Like he's like the regular that everybody wants. You know what I mean?
Laurel and I played golf together every Sunday for 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
Every single
Wow.
Sunday.
I saw
Wow.
Laurel the other day. I went in to meet Steph at the fridge, and I'm like, Laurel? You still come here every day? He's like, I got to get my daily dose of abuse,
Twice a day. He comes for lunch and he comes
Wow.
for dinner usually.
Dedicated.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Laurel. Lorenzo says hi.
You could still call me. I still play golf.
And this is really great too because Ray and Terry too, and I've told them about the podcast, and I'm like, I'm going to have Lorenzo on soon, so you guys are going to have to listen. Hi, Ray and Terry. We don't have the Friday night crowd or crew that we used to have, but Ray and Terry Ray usually comes in for breakfast almost every morning, but then Terry sometimes joins him, but.
Well, I told them all to stop going. They all come to my house and we get drunk there now for free.
The regulars, like this morning, it was all regulars today. And it was just so great because I'm like, man, like, everybody. And it just started off to be a really good day because I saw a couple that were pre-COVID and then I hadn't seen them this whole year. Mm-hmm. And then they came in today, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Because you wonder what happens. Most of our clientele is older people, but Anna, I want to talk about.
Let me interrupt real quick. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Don't be
two
sorry.
Things. Old people. We have DOP. I don't know if they're still around. Drunk old people.
Are you talking about Kara and Don?
Exactly.
So Kara actually has dementia.
She always has.
She has, but it's gotten to the point where she doesn't go out anymore. But I do see Don every now and then, and he's just as wonderful as always. He always wants to kiss me. I always have to turn my cheek so he doesn't get me on the lips. But and he's, he always gets something for her to eat, but she doesn't come out anymore. She's not well enough to. So
I think hanging out with Don would be like hanging out with Ronald Reagan. He just reminds me of the same guy.
He really does, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. And I went on Ray and Terry's honeymoon.
Oh,
The three of
that's
us.
fantastic.
The three of us went on their honeymoon together.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
Where'd you go?
To Vallecito, to the lake. We spent like 4 days out there. I think they were ready for me to leave.
Yeah.
I bet. They're really, really good people. They're awesome people. Anna, what do you love about the restaurant? Besides the fallback issue. But
Yeah.
what do you love about it?
Some of the best people in my life, have come from people that I've met who have turned to chosen family that I met through working in restaurants.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what I love the most. I mean, it's just always such a solid group of authentic, good-hearted, caring folks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's my favorite thing. And then connecting with the customers. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the same thing. I've kept in contact with some, via Facebook or whatever,
Right.
with places or people from the fridge, and it's
Yeah.
just like throughout all these years.
Yeah.
It's still people that I connect with,
Yes.
So, yeah.
So what do you hate? If you're in the restaurant business, you're not so much anymore, but what is the least favorite part of being in the restaurant business that you think?
I guess the stress levels of when you're just like, holy shit.
So up,
It
and
goes-
then you go so down.
Yes.
In a matter of 2 hours.
Yes.
And then you're like,
And then that
am I
freak out,
okay
like,
at the end?
oh my God, oh my God, I
why
can't
we
do
all
this. I
drink
need
so
help.
much.
Yeah.
You're legit at that level. Like, I can't do
Yeah.
it.
But also that worst feeling is what, I mean, being able to multitask when
Yeah.
you're under that much pressure gives you incredible skills for just sorting through life, you know?
Absolutely,
Or be on,
absolutely,
like,
100%
CBS Survivor,
does.
maybe.
'Cause
Like,
not-
maybe we could, like, have this, like, we're bound to be on, like, we can make it if you, I don't know. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're the multitaskers under the most stress in a matter of minutes.
Right.
Minutes.
Right.
We
You
can
know,
get a
and
lot
it's interesting
accomplished.
because non-restaurant people don't get that. They don't get it, you know?
Right.
And so that always, I always find that really, really interesting, you know, that people just don't understand the multitude of stress that we deal with.
Right. The multitude of stress and then being able to slap a smile on your face like, hi.
And pretend
ma-
that you're not stressed.
Pretend that you're not stressed.
Yeah.
This is someone's night out and you have to make it good for them,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to
I enjoyed it. That was my favorite part. I enjoyed the craziness, the chaos around me. One of the only times I ever had a real meltdown was Anna's like fourth shift as a manager. It was
Remind
just
me.
a night. It was a night out of something that hadn't happened in there. There was like 8 deep at the bar. I was by myself. It was like a Wednesday night, and Anna had just started managing, and she came back and she's like, "Are you okay?" And God wouldn't shut up. God is the printer, and when God talks, you answer. You don't have a choice.
God. Right.
And
right,
God
right.
wouldn't shut up. And she was kind of overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed, and we really couldn't fall back on each other. And she kind of said, "Are you all right?" But I knew she wasn't all right, and I wasn't all right. And that was the only time I can ever remember losing it for about 5 minutes. I cleared all the drinks that I had made off the top of the counter and just smashed glass everywhere. And she walked away, and I said, "Okay, now I got to fix it."
Wow. Like drinks that you made for the restaurant or drinks that you made for people that were sitting
drinks
at the
for
bar?
restaurant and at the bar.
Okay,
And
okay.
but that is the only time that I ever melted down.
Yeah.
That I couldn't handle it. And for the most part, I just loved the pressure of it all.
Yeah.
There was so much pressure, and it had to get done, and I thrived off of it. I
Yes.
loved it.
But I think that's why we all kind of like it.
We
Yeah,
do.
it's
Even
true.
though the
You know, we
stress,
made it right.
We
you
are.
Still, that's why you still
Keep going
just
back
been in
for it, right.
the
Come back,
5 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Christy
I mean, it makes
Christy
sense. We're those
says
kind of individuals. We
yes,
just are.
we are.
Yeah.
Christy Cricket, we miss you. I wish you were here. But she always says, like, we're adrenaline junkies.
It's true.
We're
Yeah.
adrenaline junkies in different way. Like, I'm not going to go freaking bungee jumping, and I'm not going to go freaking jumping out of an airplane. Maybe. I might someday, but not, but it's that adrenaline rush when you're freaking slammed and you're just like,
a
like
zone,
on
yeah.
in a zone, you're focused, you're on it, you're on it, you know?
You're on it, and then your team, it's got like your back also.
Yes, and not many restaurants are like that. I've worked in dozens of different restaurants until I came to the Fridge, and I was like, this is so different here. But like I said earlier, and I don't think that I said this on the podcast, but I'm going to say it again. I may have said it in a previous podcast because I think I talked about it before. But since we're talking about back in the day, I want to say when I first started there was a sign that said, "You are no longer allowed to have a pre-shift shot." And I was like, what? Because I had come from corporate. So it was really interesting to me. So you guys were there before me. You both, Anna and Lorenzo. So tell me about that.
Up until the point of when you started,
Yeah.
the law said that you could technically sample all employees. And they changed the law to say only managers could sample. So it was a free-for-all up until that point. And the bar was a new concept for the fridge. And we were kind of learning our way through it, and so were the managers. And bartenders are going to take full advantage if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And
yeah.
we're going to have lots of pre-shift shots and mid-shift shots.
and post-shift
And
shots.
if that customer's having a shot, we all should have a shot. So the law changed, so they needed to adapt to the new law and get a handle on what was going on because they could see that it was a free-for-all at that point.
Right.
And it really was. I mean, we used to we took full advantage. We would stay at the fridge until 3, 4 in the morning. Whenever the morning shift would come in, that was our cue to go home.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
We would dance on the bar. We would have shots all night. We would indulge in illegal substances.
So, that is definitely something that I wanted to bring up was the picture of Anna and Christy and Arelis up on top of the bar.
Oh, yes.
And there's a
At the
clock.
fridge?
It's at the fridge, and there's a
Oh,
clock
have I never
behind
seen
them.
that?
Oh, I have it on. I have it saved. So if you don't mind, Anna, I know Cricket doesn't, and I know definitely Arelis doesn't. But if you okay it, I want to post it on our Facebook page under Shift
sure.
Talkers. So the clock behind them said like 1:30, and it was not PM, people. It was AM.
That was my night off.
And yeah, there was a bartender in the background that you could see, but it wasn't you.
It's Kevin.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't. But the three of them are on top of the bar. You guys were dressed up.
It was Mardi Gras night. Yeah, it was
Tell
a
us.
celebration for Mardi Gras. I think they had some like Cajun style, band in there, and we were all dressed up. And yeah, I don't know what led to.
Never mind. I think I took the
You
picture.
took the picture.
It's coming back to
It's
you.
all coming back.
You were there. Of course you were there, Lorenzo.
Yeah, but as Lorenzo said, there were many nights dancing on that bar, and I
man.
remember Cricket would just be like, "Nobody wiped off the footprints, off the bar last night." So I can't tell you. Oh, I do remember because, can I say, Catherine was managing that night, and she actually came back to the bar and was just like, "Why the fuck aren't you drinking?" And that's
Catherine is kind of responsible for it. 'Cause
Yes.
she would come back at the end of the shift and say, "Hey, are we going to drink tonight?" It's like, well, I guess
Right.
so.
because we were
We are now.
we were so busy that night, like full of reservations. The bar was packed with people wanting to see music, and so we were just really focused on that for a while. And I do remember her coming back and be like, "Okay, you guys need to start drinking. Like this, you got to liven this party up." And I think so. That was the beginning of that. And
Yeah.
that led to who knows what else
At the end
happened
of our
Dancing on the
the
bar.
dance,
At
the
any,
dance off.
any shift, Friday nights, Saturday nights mainly, it was always typical for us to line up a shot for every single server, everybody in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
This was before they changed the law.
Right.
But when I
Right.
was there,
Yeah,
which
see,
was years later,
they would kick us out a free drink. Everybody got a free drink at the end of the night.
Yes.
So we would line up the shots, and it was okay.
Yeah.
But then they switched the law on us, and we had one of the hardest hard asses there was in
Our manager.
a manager. She was a recovering alcoholic, and she would just bust our balls
Oh,
because
I know who you're
because
talking
we
about.
were bartenders. And she wanted
Right.
what we were doing, but she couldn't do it.
Right,
so
right.
she was
Shut it
a
down.
stickler.
Yeah.
She suspended me.
Oh yeah.
I had thousands of shots on the job. I got suspended for having a shot on the job.
Oh, but with you, when she told me she's like, Anna and Lorenzo. I'm like, yeah. And I tell this story a lot from serving when I moved to New Mexico. I was like, I knew this bartender, Lorenzo, and every time I asked for some coffee, he would give me a shot of Crown Royal in a coffee cup. And I mean, sometimes we were super obvious. Sometimes we weren't on Friday and Saturday nights, but it was like coffee. I mean, we look at each other, and now I look at it like, oh my god!
Like, how did I get through my shift?
Yeah, I couldn't do it now, but it was just I still tell him, I'm like, this bartender Lorenzo. I even tell my fiance.
It's funny because
it's funny like coffee and. You just were crowned. You were like,
I called her
I
today.
thought that's what coffee was.
When I moved here, I obviously did too. But
when I called Desi today to see if she wanted to come podcast, I was like, Lorenzo and Anna are coming. She's like, Lorenzo? The one who used to give me coffee? And I'm like, yes, that one. Yes.
Always in a purple or blue cup.
whatever.
Never yellow or pink.
No.
We used to have so much fun there. Let's talk about like some back in the day stories. I mean, I know we have already, but what do you guys got for us that like bartending? I know there's a lot of stories. The dancing on the bars and being there till 3-4 a.m. in the morning. But Lorenzo, I remember you telling me something like you smoked pot in the bathroom back there. Did you tell me that, or was it
that was
cricket?
something else in the bathroom? But we smoked we smoked a lot of pot at the bar.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
No way.
Oh, wow.
After shift, we would always smoke some pot at the bar.
Yeah.
Everybody would smoke cigarettes, and then we'd migrate
At
over
the
to
bars.
pot.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, we smoked a lot of pot. This was before. This was during the
before they-
Catherine days.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is
okay.
all Catherine.
She would leave, go pick up her kids, and be like, I'm going to leave. I'll be back in a little while, you guys.
But
You're like,
we would ask
yes.
permission. We would ask her, can we smoke some pot? And she'd say, sure.
And could you smoke inside at the point, or you know
No,
when you?
No.
No, that was
No.
already over with.
No.
Now we're just doing it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I want to hear some customer stories that you guys have about back in the day. The restaurant now, like, people do not get drunk. We have a 3-drink limit. They cannot have more than 3 drinks while they're visiting there, which is totally hugely different from back in the day.
How do you make any money?
It's very different.
Not all places are like that. The is doing that.
It's like an in-house policy.
Yeah. to
Yeah,
keep you
it's a
limited
house.
at the place.
Yeah, it's a house policy, a house.
But some
Probably
breweries-
partially because of me.
Right.
No, I think that I think once we started to open more locations, it started becoming a lot more corporate oriented. So, and that's what corporates do. Corporate restaurants, you have those limitations, and you can't. The mom and pops are the ones that can pretty much, they make the rules in their house. So it's house rule. And the Fridge is kind of a mom and pop place. However, it started expanding and became a little more corporate oriented.
Right.
But originally it is a mom and pop restaurant. So I think we got away with a lot more things than corporate. Especially because when I came and I saw that sign there that said you can't take shots anymore before your shift, I was like, what? I can't even believe they have to have a sign that says that, because I came from corporate and
Right.
corporates, you can't even go in and drink on your day off. So, there's a lot of, especially back in the day, those mom and pop restaurants that you can get away with all of those things. Like, I want to hear some of the craziest kind of customer drunk stories that you can remember.
When the Fridge started going the corporate route is when I decided it was time for me to leave.
Yeah.
Because what was always so endearing about it was that it was mom and pop. And not only were the employees all one family, the customers were an extended family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except for, you always have your exceptions. But the customers were like a family. It was like Cheers in there. We knew everybody, and they were free to do whatever they wanted. If they wanted to get totally annihilated drunk, as long as that particular manager didn't catch wind of it, it was
Right.
okay. We had the local drunks, the traveling drunks, everybody who went in there we knew. So they got a little unruly. It was sometimes a little bit of kind of like retirement home orgy, based in there. It was it was very, very risque
my
for a
God.
while.
Yes.
Well, when I was there, I was like, who are these rich white people coming out here with their upside down pineapples? Like, I'm like, they are
They're
up
upside down.
to no good at
Oh,
the end
there was quite a
I
bit
love that.
quite a bit of nudity amongst the old people. There was a lot of relationships broken and formed within the group.
Yes.
It was,
I do remember
Experimenting going on.
Oh,
yeah.
that. Yeah.
It seemed to me like they were a big group of swingers, but they couldn't have been because I was in their inner circle and I wasn't swinging with them unless they left me out of the loop.
They're like, he serves us drinks. We shouldn't let him in.
But there was one of my favorites is this one older woman. She would come in all the time alone, and usually she'd have a gin and tonic. She would have 3 of them. Well, this particular night, she showed up and she must have been probably 8 deep already.
Oh.
She had to have been. And John Lewis Quartet's playing. Very beautiful,
Nice.
handsome black gentleman
Right.
with his
John
jazz
Lewis.
band.
Yes. Okay.
And he was the nicest person, and his group was fantastic. And this lady came in, had another drink with me, and then proceeded to try to seduce John Lewis. And her thought on how she was going to do this is to
Was
show
it
him
Antoinette?
her 70-year-old saggy tits over
Sounds like it.
and over throughout the night. Needless to say, we couldn't let her go home. So Ray and Terry thought it would be best if they took her home. Turns out this woman lived like 100 miles away.
Holy shit. Oh my God.
Like, it's house or
She
some
she
shit.
lived in this little tiny community of Dixon, which at the time was it doesn't exist anymore.
I know, it doesn't?
No,
Wow.
no. She is the one in Dixon that is on the way.
Dixon.
to-
I thought you said
to-
Dix.
No, not Dix.
Dixon.
Dixon.
I know.
I'm like, where's Dix?
Dixon is on the way to Taos.
Yeah.
So it's pretty far. Well, they
Dixon
had
apples, right?
no. That was an orchard. It's different.
Oh,
That's gone.
okay.
Dixon is a town.
Okay.
So
okay.
they took her home, and that whole night she's trying to seduce the 2 of them
Oh, then.
into some activities that John Lewis wasn't willing to
Oh my
partake in.
goodness.
That's one. I mean, that's pretty tame, but I want to know from Anna, because Anna has always been kind of quietly holding something in there.
Well,
she has to have seen it all.
You know, I think that it's different between male and female and what we experience, and it's just different. And maybe it's our perception as females that it's different, but it is different nonetheless. Yes.
Well, yeah. And Lorenzo was always had a much closer relationship to, I feel like, customers than I did. Bartending.
I guess it was, I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
No, but I know what you're saying. I saw.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
would
he
see that
did.
too, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I don't know, I can't really think of customers being out of control. I don't know.
Were you there when
I-
the beautiful lady, she would come in pretty often, and Tom Brown was smitten with her. He just had it out for her.
Hey,
And
Tom Brown.
She,
Hey,
Rock the
Tom.
boat.
I don't know what happened that particular
Rock the
night. They
boat.
would show up sometimes, and they were just trashed. Well, she was trashed. And that night, she decided she was going to give us all a show several times. And then ruin the show by puking in the bathroom.
No!
And it was the foulest.
Oh.
And it was so awful. And I told Melissa, she was managing that night at the
Oh,
time,
poor
I'll
thing.
clean it up. And she says, okay. So I went back there, and then I puked.
Oh!
I I couldn't stomach it. I thought it won't be a problem. I don't know what
Yeah,
she
yeah.
ate. I have no
Oh, man.
So Melissa with
Desi's gagging. She's gagging.
Melissa with her 2 kids, a toddler and a newborn, stomach made out of just concrete, went back there, just cleaned it up.
Mel
like nothing.
killed it. Yeah.
Who did?
It
Wait,
was
who did?
amazing.
I missed that. Who cleaned
Melissa
it up?
cleaned it up.
No shit.
Yeah. 'Cause
Damn.
we had to carry on. I mean, it's not like I could say, "Oh, I threw up. I'm going home now." No, I threw up. It's time to work.
Desi's about to.
Eyes watering and all.
Sorry, Des.
I know, and I'm 2 shitters in the house, but something about adult puke, I can't do it.
Well, you know what?
Adult puke is different than baby shitty diapers.
Oh, all
On,
Yes.
on a bookshelf,
It
by
really-
the way, the other day.
Oh.
I'm like, what the
ugh.
fuck did this shit? Riley, what? There was a sock.
You're like,
I was
what's
like,
that
sock?
smell?
What is sock? And it's
You know, I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I want to mention it because we were talking about throw up. Desi, don't gag. But there was this kid who ate like macaroni and cheese, and he had like a whole thing of milk to drink beforehand, and it just didn't say really rich stuff, and he puked, and the busser was all gagging because I'm like, I'm managing, like I'm a manager, so I don't have to do it. So the busser, she's like, I can't, and I'm like, I got 4 kids, I can do it. So I walk up to the table, and I'm like, can I get you some toes? And I totally gagged. And I was just like, oh man, I thought I could handle it, but it's not my own kid.
Right.
You know, it's totally different when
yeah.
it's somebody else's kid. And yeah. So back in the day, you would just throw, and I think this maybe is still true. If you're in the restaurant and somebody you're with at your table throws up, what do you do as a server, or as a manager, as a busser? What do? You throw them a fucking towel and be like, "Here you go.
There you go.
Here's some wet towels and da 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 da."
still
But
not
what do
gonna
you?
get it all the way
Well,
clean.
of course, no,
Right.
of course, especially if it's on the floor.
Well,
and
this was the bathroom. It was public domain. It wasn't her table. It was the public bathroom.
Right.
It
So
was probably like projectile.
we didn't have a choice, but somebody just
yeah.
soldier up and get in there and clean
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
she didn't. I took her home, not like that.
Yeah.
I did the responsible
you
thing.
took her. You drove.
I
her
drove
home.
her to her house.
Taking her home
Yeah,
and
that's-
driving
that's
her home
different.
are 2 different
Yeah,
things. Lorenzo.
Tom Brown didn't score that night.
Some drunk stories. So I've been following these server pages. There's one called Extra Ranch on Facebook. There's one called Extra Ranch. There's one called Server Life. And it's just a bunch of servers and restaurant people that just post whatever they want, talk shit. A lot of stupid people post their tips, which I'm like, why would you do that?
Right.
But there was one girl that said, some guy came in already drunk to her bar, and he poured orange juice on the floor and then proceeded to surf in the orange juice like he was surfing in the orange juice. And she didn't give me the rest of the story, like what happened after that. Did he fall? Were the cops called? Did he leave on his own? Did you feed him? Like what happened? But so with that story, like what would you guys do? Like Lorenzo, what would you do if that happened while you were bartending?
Well, generally, it was the grab them by the shirt and throw them right out. I mean, that was the typical. Keely set the tone on what we do with people we don't want in, and if they're drunk. And she did it by grabbing them by the shirt and throwing them out the front door.
She's awesome. Hi, Keely. I hope you're listening.
So whenever somebody would come in that was unruly, intoxicated, homeless, crazy, anything you can imagine, it was usually just kind of a beeline in a circle right out the front door.
Yeah. Yeah. And that place is really good about that. Like, you are not allowed in here anymore. That's got to be difficult for a manager to say, but we've had some definitely some characters in there for sure. What about you, Anna? Can you think of anybody that you've had to throw out? You managed for a short while there.
Yeah, and I can't think of any particular people like you have to throw out, but definitely it was always hard when, someone who came in who was obviously, especially in need,
Yes.
to
Oh,
not
yeah.
be able to like, okay, sit down, let me get you some hot
Right.
coffee and some stew.
Yes, the stew. I'll
You
give
know?
you stew. I've
And
actually given
I've-
many people stew.
I used to
before.
same, and
Yeah.
I used to
Yeah.
give out stew, something hot to eat.
Yeah. But there were
trying to think of
stipulations
people
like, don't bring your
who-
friends, bro. This
Right,
is for you and you only. Don't bring your freaking friends.
right.
Yeah.
Or people coming in from Silva's sometimes, like already
right.
wasted, just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
how to tenderly.
And you know, the
we
good-
can offer you dinner, but,
Right.
but
Right.
you've clearly been overserved at Silva's.
Yeah. And see, back in the day, there wasn't any, there was rules in place, but they weren't enforced ever by management or by like SID, like officers or whatever. But
Right.
nowadays it's very, they do enforce and they do pay attention more so at certain bars, the place we worked. But so back in the day, we were able to still serve drunk people. So would you serve them knowing that they were already wasted and way overserved? Like, what would you guys do if they came in, stumbled in, you're like, I know this person's drunk, but they ordered a beer?
I think depending on, you get to know people. I know like Manny, who was one of my neighbors
Oh,
and was
yeah.
at Silva's all the time. And if he
Yeah.
were to come in, I knew he was walking home and had like a 2-minute walk. So, give him one more Bud Light? Sure.
I
Yeah.
was the same. It was a pick and choose. If I knew they were walking, which most of the people who showed up impaired, they were walking home.
Yeah.
And that's
So,
the good thing about that location.
Right. Like
Then
it was
you
the
guys
local
were-
watering
you
hole,
guys
you know?
were
Yeah.
able to do
Yeah.
that. Now you do the one by the mall. You'd be like, I have no idea.
Right.
Is this
Right.
guy just shopping with his wife, or did he get trash at Applebee's and come over here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all of us have been so lucky to work in a place like that. Like, I've worked in tons of different restaurants where it just doesn't roll like that. It doesn't
Right.
work like that, But back in the day, we used to be able to serve somebody who was drunk, knowing they could walk home. But nowadays, what if they're walking home and but they face planted on the sidewalk because they tripped over something, and
Right.
you, as their bartender, the last person who served them, could get sued because you were the last person who served them a beer or whatever, even though they were trashed when they walked in. So the rules are different now, you guys. The rules are very, very different, and they're scary, and
They are scary.
they are scary because you are a third party liability in a restaurant when you're serving alcohol. So, I want to tell everybody who's non-restaurant people nowadays, don't get all pissed off after we say no, 3's our limit or whatever. We want you to have a good time. We want you to have fun, but these rules are in place for reasons, because we could fucking go to jail, and I'm not going to jail for your ass.
Right.
I've already pretended a whole personality. I ain't gonna fucking go to jail for you.
I think it's an age thing, because when you're 20, you don't care.
Yeah.
I know I didn't care.
No,
Right.
me
When
neither.
you're 30, you care a little more. 40, you care. You don't want to go
Yeah.
to jail
Yeah.
because you gave somebody an extra drink. But at 20,
Yeah,
True.
that's
you
true.
just didn't care, and you weren't on the side of the management where why should I not make my money
the
because
consequences,
he
you didn't
can't
really
because he
see it.
can't have one more
Right.
beer.
Right,
Right.
right. Yeah. And plus, too, if you did, like, the consequences, you're right, but even if you did receive consequences, get fired or whatever, at 20 years old, you're going to get another job real quick. You know what I mean? So At 46, not so much.
Yeah.
So that definitely comes into play for sure. But
'Cause the laws were already in place.
Oh, yeah.
We were just breaking the rules.
right, because
And
nobody enforced
There was
them.
no enforcement,
Nobody
and then
cared.
again, we didn't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
Even when they wanted to enforce them, we would still stretch them pretty far.
Oh, yeah, when they didn't let us take shots during or before our shift,
It's when you have some coffee.
we'd go to
when you
Silva's. When you have some coffee, right. Or go to Silva's
Silva's.
next door. Take the apron off and run next door. Hey, give me a shot. But those were really good times. And, I really 100% value all of them. Back in the day and up till today, even still, a lot of things have changed. There's so many different rules and regulations and laws, but it's still about the customers that you connect with and the people that become your family. It's still about that.
Yeah.
For most of us long haul servers, but a lot with this COVID thing too. I definitely have been thinking about what else can I do. So I started this podcast.
Yay.
Things that we all have to deal with or had to deal with is really important for the general public to know, especially because 15 million Americans are in the hospitality service industry. That's a lot of fucking people. This is an industry that people kind of look down upon, like, oh, it's a starter job for your 17-year-old kid or whatever. But there's people like me who've been in it, and Lorenzo, you were in it. You're not in it anymore, but even you, Anna, too. Like, you fall back on it if you have to. Like, it's an industry, and it's important to talk about. I think yeah.
Yep.
And we were talking a little bit about mental health earlier too, and I kind of want to go towards that eventually. Not tonight, because we're talking about back in the day where nobody cared about your mental health. You're like, take a fucking shot, bro, and smoke a joint, and you'll be fine.
That was the treatment.
Right.
It was a treatment, and you know what? It fucking worked.
What's wrong with you?
Drink.
Drink.
Get in the
Yeah.
back and have a shot and get your shit together, because you have
Right.
to finish this shift.
Or who was
I'm
it?
not covering for you.
Who was it back in the day? Was it Keely or Catherine who would take a full glass rack outside
Keely.
and break every single glass until she felt better
Oh
against
my
the
God.
building?
Oh, that is
Yeah.
nice.
It worked.
That was therapy.
I used to do it with
Oh,
her.
yeah.
It was fun.
Oh, hell yeah. Did you have to clean it up?
No, you throw them right into the dumpster.
Oh, it was into the dumpster.
You throw
Nice.
them right into the dumpster.
Nice,
And if
nice.
it's empty, it's even better because it booms and echoes.
Ooh. Do you guys, I'm sure you guys have all seen Zombieland.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, great fun movie, but
Right.
where they go into the store and they just
And they
start
just smash-
smashing shit. I'm like, ah,
Yeah.
one of my favorite parts. I'm like, I'm so envious. But anywho, you guys, I want to thank you so much for coming, Anna. It's been great having you here.
Thank you.
I'm so glad this worked out, because it was kind of like spur of the moment, like, hey, do you want to come podcast?
Yeah.
I had
Paige.
mentioned it to Cricket, like, if she's coming, like, I'm like, tell her about the podcast and da-da-da, and Cricket was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're bummed, Cricket, that you weren't here with us.
I want to talk about and Leslie.
Okay.
Wait, back me up. Alex, again, who were they?
Okay. Tell it, Lorenzo.
They're a
Tell
couple
it.
of locals.
I'll block their names out. You just spill it.
Now, these people drink like fish. They were in there every single night. They were they were friendly. They weren't obnoxious. The only problem we had with is that they brought along their 8-year-old son who did his homework at the bar every night. I mean, all in all, I don't know if it was good for him or bad for him, but he seemed to turn out okay.
Yep.
I wonder how old he is now.
He's got to be
gotta be
20.
My biggest complaint with them was that they would come in, 10 minutes before we closed and stay for an hour. But they were from back in the day, so we would all clock out and hang out with them. You know,
I
we'd be
drove
rolling
them home.
silverware.
I drove them home on many of occasions.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they would bring their vehicle, which made no sense because they lived like 2 blocks away.
Right.
Well, they would come from somewhere else. They would
Yeah.
already be drinking out on a Friday night somewhere else. But...
And we were their last stop before
Right.
home.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but those people, they used to really like to get flirtatious. She's one of the ones
Really?
who would just start. She was touchy-feely. She wanted to take you to the back and just didn't seem to know what was going on or not care.
Or he just ignored it. He didn't
Right.
care. You know, actually, we talked about that for a brief moment earlier, and I wanted to mention that about you said about like old people orgies and people breaking up and da da da. But I remember, what was his name? I won't say it, but he used to eat nachos with no sour cream and drink margaritas, but
Was
used
it
to
the
come
one
in
that we
alone.
He used to come in alone, and we called him. We either called him Les or Lester. Looked like he was a molester.
Oh, I know
know
who
who
you're
you're
talking
I
about.
don't know.
That's
I
the
don't
one.
know if you called him that,
played,
but
he played wife swap over there with a couple, right? He ended up with another one of the
in the
ladies.
bathroom, yes.
Oh,
No, he ended up with one of the chicks in the bathroom while her husband was out in the bar hanging out with all the other rest of the people. Yeah, and they came out, dude, and they were all messy. Like sweaty and like their hair, and we were all just like, oh, we know what you guys were doing, man. They were like guilty faces. I mean, their faces, even if they combed their hair afterwards, their faces were just like, it told it all.
Well, I'm positive it happened more than just what
Oh,
we
yeah.
caught on to.
Yeah.
'Cause the group was just they were a little too comfortable.
Yeah. It was a fun fucking group.
They were
though.
a fun
They
group.
were
They
a
were the best
fun group.
And the thing with them is that they would have the DD, which I respected.
Yeah.
So every week they would designate someone out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we didn't feel so bad about just getting them drunk. And that they would get drunk. They'd show up at 5 and leave
Yeah.
at when we kicked them out.
Right. I love when the DDs were mostly the guys, though. The
They would
guys
also-
would
Yeah.
take turns.
Yeah, they would-
It usually was not the women, because the guys were like, oh, no, you girls drink.
You go for it.
We're going to go home with you later. You girls drink. Yeah. So, oh, man, what a great place. We had so many good times.
Yeah, I have one more story that I would like to share.
Yes,
in
please.
memory of our friend Noah, who we lost
Oh.
this year, which we're so sad about. And Noah was a character, the biggest heart, and as Lorenzo said, sometimes moody also. But we used to bartend together, I think on Tuesday nights. And so we had a big party at my house for Ben and Catherine when they turned 40 years old. And so we ordered all the food through Cisco from the fridge.
Uh-huh.
And so for some reason, we got a whole case of these obscenely huge foot-long hot dogs. Like, not only were they long, but they were like stout. And so our friend Kevin Sullivan was on the grill all night at our house, like grilling up these dogs, and we kept like teasing him about it. And somehow, like a couple of them, like rolling around a case, ended up in the beer cooler, And so Noah, for 2 weeks straight, in the beginning of his shift, would shove one down his pants and then hike his foot up on the bar and rub his hot dog. And be like, so, to these Placidus women, hey, ladies, what can I get for you tonight? And they would get so flushed. And
He did it to me too.
They were into it. Yeah. And by the end, I'm like, Noah, throw that thing. It had been like rolling around the cooler. It was all like brown. I'm like, come on. It's so gross. Don't put that down your pants anymore, Yeah.
Oh my god.
The customers, I mean, they loved it. The ladies loved the dog. That's for sure.
I want to tell about
That's awesome
speaking
story.
of
So good.
shopping at Cisco in the fridge. One particular evening, we decide we're gonna go camping. Anna, myself, and Cricket's already up there camping. She showed up to go shopping at the fridge also earlier in the evening. So Anna's the closing manager. I'm bartending. I tell her, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go home and get my camping stuff. You're going to close up. We're going to come back here. We'll meet up and we're going to go. Well, her and I shopped in the fridge for what we needed for her, for me, for Cricket, and for Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah.
So we show up to this camping trip with 50. What do y'all call yourselves?
A shitload.
Hippies.
Hippies. We show up.
What do you all call
There's
yourselves?
50 hippies. None of them have food. They have lots of pot, lots of beer.
It was someone's wedding.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Where
a wedding.
was this camping trip?
In
Do you remember?
Jemez. It was up in
Oh,
Jemez.
okay. I
Yeah.
figured.
Yeah, we show up with food for just the four of us, and we fed all those people with what we took.
From
That's
the fridge.
awesome.
And I think that was probably one of the most drunken moments you and I have shared.
Oh, I was pretty damn drunk. You had to drive.
I just remember the second day, us floating down the river, passing the whiskey bottle back and forth,
Oh my gosh.
and it just going down way too easily. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't drive out of there. I not capable. Anna said, I better drive.
We've had some really, really great times, you guys. I love this
Yeah.
episode back in the day.
Back in the day.
Um,
Oh, can I share one more? I just remembered
please,
something.
yes, absolutely.
I remember getting off of work and sitting at the bar and having a drink and looking over, and there was a couple, or there was a man and woman at the corner of the bar, and they were talking, and I'm like, I know that guy's voice. And it was, what's his name? I forget. It was a singer, the dude from the B-52s.
No shit.
And so we used to, back in the day, when we would get off work, we would a lot of times we would go back to my house because I lived right behind the and we'd have a bonfire and hang out and continue to drink. And so I just remember, his name's Frank, isn't it? Frank something? Or
Fred?
Fred? Yeah.
I think it's Fred, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was just like,
Give it a goog.
hey, what are you? Just like, well, I'm in Santa Fe visiting my cousin, I believe. And I was like, well, if you really want to see Bernalillo, you should come back and hang out with us. And I just remember the look he shot me like, thanks, but no. Like, are you kidding me?
I thought this was going a totally different way. I'm like, he was around the bonfire.
I was so excited. I'm like, he's going to come hang out with us. He's got to be that cool,
Yeah, he's a B-52.
He's just like, what?
He was really cool at the bar, but
Yeah.
that's as far as
That's
he was
as
going to
far
take
as we got, yeah.
it. Like,
That's
yeah, I
interesting.
think I'm going to go back to the Tomaya.
Yeah, right.
Their bonfire.
I know. I'm going to check out that scene. Not
You know
that,
what? The after parties are the best. You know what? And I actually posted on our Shift Talkers podcast Facebook page if you all are interested. Seth Rogen. We met Seth Rogen. He came in and he was sitting in the bar booths back there. So, and he was facing the wall. So somebody came out and they're like, that's Seth Rogen. And I'm like, no, it isn't. He's way too skinny. Like, it's not him, right? So he's like, yeah, it is. Well, so I walk past him and I'm like, no. But I walked like into the gallery, like up the steps, just to kind of pass by, like, pretending I'm doing something important. And I'm like, no, that's not him. And then I come back down the steps and he laughed. Fucking Seth Rogen laughed. And I was like, oh my God, it's totally Seth Rogen. Because that laugh is just very distinctive. So I'm like, holy shit. And it was his birthday. He's with the film crew. And so we obviously were like, can we take your picture. So he took some pictures with us and all the crew inside the restaurant. You know, it was great. And then I saw him outside. Like I went to go smoke a cigarette or whatever, and I saw him out there like on the phone. He was calling to whatever. He was like waiting for his crew. I don't know what he was doing, but I was like, can I take another picture with you? And Melissa comes out, and I'm like, me and my friend. So he's like, yeah. So it was years and years ago. So, but I just came across that picture again, and I posted it on the Shift Talkers. I'm like, come back. I wish. I regret not asking him. And even if he would have said no, I probably would have been pretty hurt too. But I totally wish that I would have asked him to come back. I'm like, hey, man, you know, I got a couple joints. You want to smoke out? You know, but I didn't.
You
and
never
so,
know. He may have not been a Fred about it, you know?
Anna had no filter, and she was fearless. I kind of expected that he would show up, and I knew she was going to ask him. She's going to ask him, definitely.
Hell yeah. I'm proud of you. I'm glad you did. I wish that I had the nerve. I get really starstruck and stupid.
And
I
a lot of famous people have come into the...
They have, yeah.
I met Bryan Cranston there.
Me
Nice.
too. When they were doing Breaking Bad.
Yeah, Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
cool.
me too. But I didn't know what they were doing, and I remember he came up to the bar, I served him, and he was bald, but I remember going, it's fucking Malcolm in the Middle's father.
Yeah.
What was the dad's name?
Frank? No, not Frank.
No, oh shoot, Malcolm's dad. Oh, I can't remember. I can see the mother yelling his name like
It was like Hal or something.
It was Hal. Oh man, that was a great show.
We met a lot of people in there. Wes Studi, he's a regular.
Oh
Wes
yeah, Wes
Studi.
Studi. I think maybe he's passed on now.
No.
He was the No?
No.
Okay.
Ben, what was that guy's name who played Gandhi? Bald, Ben.
Oh, Ben not
I saw him in there.
I know who you're
Lady
talking
who
about.
played the Queen. She was in there.
Oh, yeah.
I met Anna Gasteyer.
Oh, wow.
I
Carol
guess,
King. She was in
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Know her because my mom loved her growing up. Yeah.
The Saturday Night Live crew. A lot
Yeah,
of them
there's
used
a
to
lot
come
of this.
in.
Will
All
Ferrell.
Really?
Yeah, because what's his face? We've talked about him on a different podcast too. One of the earlier podcasts. I want to say Seth Rogen, but
Right.
Seth Meyers.
Seth Meyers.
His
His wife is from Placitas.
His wife
Yeah.
is from and her parents still live here, so we actually see him often.
Obama. Come on.
Oh man,
Yep.
we still have a picture in the office with all of us and Barack Obama.
Yep.
Yeah. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Day. I remember I walked in that day and I was all, I don't want to be here. I was all pissy. I'm like, it sucks. And then they're like, okay, so if the camera comes to you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
Camera?
what the fuck are you talking about? And they're like, Barack Obama's coming. He's on his way. He's going to be here in 20 minutes. And I'm like, what? You know, let me put some lipstick on. It was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things. Yeah. But really great place. I'm so lucky to be there and have experienced all kinds of things and expanded my family.
Right.
Because that's really what it is.
It's
there
really what it
at
is.
That family. Yeah.
It was a special
Yeah.
place, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
My kid
we're
came from that
lucky.
place.
You
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was born in the tub in the
He
back.
was pretty much.
Awesome. That's so great. Thank you guys again so much for coming and
Thank
being a part of
you.
Thank
this.
you for having me.
We're having so much fun doing this, and I hope that you guys listen. Tell your friends.
We will.
Listen to the Shift Talkers podcast on Podbean, on Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on Google Podcasts. And we're also on Facebook. We're on Twitter. I'm still learning the whole freaking Instagram thing, but on Snapchat,
Nice.
learning that too.
You're killing it. You're doing a great job.
We're having so much fun. Oh, and YouTube. We can't forget YouTube. If you want to see some videos of the Shift Shack, go to YouTube. And again, thanks for coming, you guys, so much. So much gratitude. Thank you.
Same. Thank you.
Thank you.